So welcome. This probably won't be the only time I kind of share this brief update right here, but for those of us who are here, I just wanted to open up with this Miro board. And if you're watching the recording later, just be sure to take a look at this. I'm going to share the link in the Zoom chat. This is a public Miro board. I'm sure that some people here are brand new to Miro, but it's become one of the essential collaboration tools that we've been using at Gimbal Lab since the very early days, right alongside Discord. So I know that we've already asked you to have a Discord account. We've already asked you to create a Canvas account. I promise this is the last new thing we're going to use here in the second half of this course, but it's a helpful tool. I know that if you've ever been on a software team, you're probably familiar with tools like Jira or Trello or other sorts of project management tools. We're not quite going that far into formally using any of those, but we found that a free open access Miro board is a nice compromise for helping people coordinate a little bit. And this is the same board we used last week for anybody who was able to attend the live coding. And I posted a little announcement last week just about a couple of action items here. So if you haven't done the barriers and bridges exercise, I recommend just taking a look at the intermission announcement in Canvas, completing this step right here and reading what other people have recognized as barriers and bridges and what they want to learn about. The second action item is just to take a high-level view of the projects we're going to be collaborating on for the next few weeks, and then to use these sticky notes as an informal way to express your interests. And here's how these are used. I see, for example, that 9 people have tapped the wave icon on Plutus Essentials, and also that 9 people have tapped that icon on tokenomics. So that gives me a pretty high level of confidence, for example, that those would be worthwhile things for us to cover, right? 9 people also interested in working on querying the blockchain. You can see there's a bunch of 8s, 7s, 5s. So all of these are topics that people are interested in. And this is just a quick way we have right here of gauging interest in each of these specializing tools. Finally, at the bottom, this is the third action item, and the last thing we covered last week is please do take a few moments to create a little profile card for yourself. This is super informal, and the number one purpose of these profile cards is for everybody here to interface with other students taking the course, all right? Think of this as, a tiny social network or even a bulletin board where you can kind of look at what other people are interested in creating and learning about and what different people can help with as you're out there looking for collaborators. Any questions about that review of what we covered last week or these action items? I'll put this link in the chat one more time, just so you have it. And feel free to bookmark this. We'll continue to use this board for the next 5 weeks. What's new since last week is this project chart right here. And let me make this window just a little bigger and zoom in on this. So for these next 5 weeks, this course will feel a bit less structured than it was in the first 5 weeks. We wanted everybody to go through the same onboarding experience and to learn as much as you could about running a local development environment, setting up a wallet, and then we had some different background knowledge modules just to get you started with the very basics of building a transaction, playing with the front end, and beginning to compile some Plutus scripts. Now we get to the fun part. And for the next 5 weeks, we're going to be working on a series of projects. Those projects are listed right here. And without going too deep into exactly what each of these are, I just want you to know that this organizing board is here. And we will be keeping the status and next steps columns up to date. So you can always review here for what's current on each of these projects. There will be some background, some further background knowledge in the 300 level or specialization modules. And then there will be specific content in the 400 level modules on Canvas. So for example, if you log into Canvas and you look for module 401, that gives you an overview of what's called the GBTE, the Gimbal Bounty Treasury and Escrow DApp. You can read more about it here. You can see a live demo of it here. And this is what we get to kind of refine together. For example, we're going to rebuild this DApp using Mesh and a Next.js-based front end. And we're also going to want to reconfigure the contract as we start to learn how to use V2 Plutus scripts instead of V1. The action items for everybody here are just as you start to learn about these projects, just know that you have a place to post questions. You can zoom in, you can double click on a sticky note, and you can write your question on an orange. And if you are interested in working on this project, I hope that you'll just jot your name on one of these sticky notes. And again, this is a way of helping potential collaborators to find each other. If you're interested in a project, my assumption is that you'll be interested in knowing who else is interested in the same. And we really encourage you, right? We're going to do as much as we can as facilitators of this course, but we really encourage you to start reaching out to each other, creating these collaborations. And I've already seen it happening in Discord, and it's incredible. Seeing people ask questions, seeing classmates answer those questions. That's really what this course is all about. And so thanks for that. So this was my first agenda item for today, was just to give you an overview that this board is here, and we will continue to use it for the rest of the course. Any clarifying questions about this? Hey, Juan. Hey. Adrian, welcome. Roberto, what's going on?
I'm going to be a little bit, take a little risk. We have in this moment a new student from the ETA Man NQ. I don't know if that's your I pronounce well the name, but welcome, man. Thanks for having me here.
Welcome, man, and another shout out to you, Sebastian, for getting PPBL going at Eastern Town Hall. Unbelievable.
Really? Wait a minute, Lucas is here. Lucas is the initiator of all of these things. He's a thing.
What? Sorry, I was a bit distracted. Initiator what?
We're talking about the extra sessions in many other places with the students.
Okay. Yeah. I think today went well. We're getting more people, and I'm happy to see it progress a bit. I'm going to start sharing it a bit with, there's this community, Cardano Builders, and Bilox, and there's maybe some others. And even from yesterday, we did a little talk about Web3, maybe some of those students from the European Business University. Yeah, I'm happy to continue this.
It's amazing. Thank you for that initiative. Yeah, and
Cheers.
you know, we want to provide as much support as possible, and that involves differentiating the instruction for this course. So Lucas, thanks for taking the lead on that. It's really powerful.
Yeah, it's a bit less. Even I think today was Nishan was mentioning that he's studying engineering, not IT engineering, just general. And so he would have the capacity to do PPBL. It's in this realm of things. But for now, he just wants to do the non-technical to get familiarized. And then eventually maybe he can come and do this one. So that gives him that middle ground to still be in crypto a bit more.
Fabulous.
Cheers.
Yeah. And just long term for everybody, facilitators and people who are currently students, but who, you'll have options to lead different sorts of initiatives if you're interested over time. One thing I'm really curious about is the extent to which this PPBL course can help train project managers, not necessarily people who will go all the way into knowing all the details of Plutus, for example, but who really want to have a high level view of how the whole stack fits together. I think we're off to a good start on that track, but I'm sure that we can do it better if that's an audience we want to reach. And so definitely going to be open to feedback and experimentation for how to make that happen. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this screen for just a moment. And for the rest of today's session, 2 agenda items. One is your questions or updates if there's something you've been working on that you want to tell the rest of the crew here about, or if there's a question you're struggling that you want to ask, now will be the time for that. And then after we get through updates and Q&A, let's dive into looking at some Plutus together. So I brought a problem that I found with the faucet contract that I would love to show everybody. Sebastian also reminded me at the start of this call that Multi-Sig has been a big topic of discussion in the Discord chat. I think that's a great one for us to spend some time looking at. So there's 2 things we can explore together. But what else is on your mind? Anybody want to share what you've been working on, or questions you have, or proposed workshop agenda items?
Where are you guys chatting? I was wondering about channels on the Discord to ask questions, because I didn't see any. Are you guys is it like a voice channel or something?
There's a category, Roberto, called Plutus PBL. Do you have access to that one?
I might not have access to that. Plutus. Oh, I just have Plutus PBL live coding.
Okay. Go to the Start Here channel up near the top.
Yeah.
And tap the book emoji. And does that make Plutus PBL show up for you?
At the start of the Gimbal Labs channel, community, introduce yourself. Okay, so I must not have checked something. I can't find it right now, but I'll check and I'll look.
Ping me if you can't get to that. Yeah, we added like this auto opt-in so people could choose their own roles, and so that's how you get access to the Plutus PBL channels.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
But let me know if you get stuck. I don't want you to be left out of those conversations.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Ooh, A's got a question or an update. Okay, so he's moving over. I'll give you just another moment or 2 to think about any updates or questions that anybody here wants to share. I don't know if people don't have anything, or if you're just really excited to get to the fun stuff of building together.
So, may I ask you, for these projects, we are working on the pre-prod installation, right?
That's right. I think it's the best option for right now. And there's really no perfect option if we looked at kind of all of the dependencies. So for example, on pre-production, we can use Eternal Wallet, but not Nami.
Okay.
With help from Lucas and Roberto, I got a pre-production version of Dandelion running earlier this week, and that's open to all of us now. But Koios isn't fully running yet, so there's a little bit of extra effort there. But I think accounting for everything, it's probably best if when we're building on testnet, we build on pre-production.
Okay. Can you share a link to this Dandelion pre-production?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I've set up a node on pre-production yesterday, but now I struggle to get TADA on this because the faucet is, I don't know, there's a problem with the capture, so it's not able to request funds at the moment. So.
If you send me a pre-production address, I can send you some pre-production ADA.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Send it later then. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks.
Hey, what's up?
Yo, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I was on a tablet, and they're usually quite finicky with browser Zoom. But yeah, it's just a quick one. Actually, I've been going through just a bunch of the different documentation, and it occurred to me that a lot of it actually isn't visualized. It's quite text heavy. And for a while, I've been thinking about, just sort of like mapping out stuff, like, just sort of creating, a diagram, and, even just simple things. I mean, in this particular context, a few of these exist, like, being able to illustrate what Cardano node is in relationship to, say, wallet, and, all other sort of, bits and bobs, or like address tier, for example. There's a diagram that exists for that. But just, taking a step back and sort of like visually mapping out in a kind of tree diagram way, because I think it will be helpful to just kind of be able to see what connects to what and that kind of thing. So I've been thinking about that, and that's something that I'm considering sort of doing. So if anyone is interested, just drop me a line, and we can sort of talk about that.
That's awesome. And thank you. Yeah, I know Bernard has been looking at ways to visualize validators. And so we talked a bit about that at the end of last week. It could be really interesting to see where you guys align on that. And, it sounds like, you're talking about a high level view. Bernard's kind of getting into the details of how we kind of visualize a smart contract. And so there's a lot of good stuff to do there.
Yeah, because that's actually part of it is connected to the previous conversations about the conflicts of, like, I'm running on this particular OS, but some things not working and that kind of thing. So I feel like just kind of visualizing it. Obviously starting at a high level, and then getting into the granularity of things would make sense. Yep. So Bernard, awesome. I'll message you in the chat, and then we can sort of move this conversation over to Discord.
Awesome. And Amir, you picked the right 2 weeks to not work on this stuff. We've slowed down and it's been a little bit quiet for the last 2 weeks, both because we're right here in the middle of the course and we wanted to give you a little bit of time to catch up, but also because of forces beyond our control of kind of testnet hiccuping a bit and just everybody kind of reconfiguring the tools that we're using. So welcome, glad you're here now, and just always be in touch if you need help with anything as you catch up. So I'd like to show you just a little bit of Plutus. Oh, come on. And I just crashed the machine where I was going to show you that Plutus. Thinks Zoom shut me down. Perfect. All right, I'll be just an extra minute or two right here. Okay, instead of me starting with that, let's start by talking high level about multi-sig. We have those two things that we can touch on today. And so instead, because of that technical constraint, we can start there. So I think a lot of people have been doing different experiments with multi-sig, and if you have been, feel free to chime in and tell the stories about what you've been working on. But basically, in one of the early modules, we talked a bit about minting assets, and you saw how to use a native script to mint tokens on Cardano. In the native script we shared in the course, there was a single signature used. So that would be, right, that's kind of the most primitive or the most basic minting script you can write is one that just has one public key hash, and therefore to mint a token with that script, you need the signature associated with that key hash. But what's possible is to include an arbitrary number of pub key hashes in your minting script. So you can have one that requires 2 or 5 or 10 different signatures to mint an asset. So far, so good. Everybody clear on those ideas so far? Speaking of things that need to be visualized. Okay. What's interesting is that once you have a script with any number of public key hashes in it, you can use it to do two distinct things. One, you can use it to create a policy ID. And that would be the policy ID of a token minted using that script. But the other thing you can do is you can use the very same script to create an address that then UTXOs can be locked at. Now, if I lock value at a multi-sig address, how do I unlock it? Anybody want to give a try? Kind of talking through what that would look like? Even just at a high level, have you thought about what would I do to unlock funds from a multi-sig address?
Yes, I was thinking about a kind of private key, but when I mean the final of the process, I don't have the final key. So also I'm thinking about I'm thinking about in the other option that you mentioned, how to make a policy ID, but in the end that's the same problem. I don't know how unlock those that UTXO. So that's
Yeah. So you're partway there. You know that you need a private key or a signing key, but
Okay,
where?
I start with making the policy ID initially,
Okay.
and then I think about okay, I can build an address in that I can build an address after I build the hashes of the two addresses. But I'm stuck in that point.
Do you have that, Sebastian, up and running right now? Is that something we could work through together? It's okay if you don't.
No, no.
All good, all good. All right. So I have a pre-production node running right here. It's in Epic 18. Pre-production is still on the Alonzo era, so this is pre-hard fork. And it's just for anybody who hasn't tried to set up a pre-production node yet, I recommend doing it just because it's so much easier than the old testnet or mainnet, because this is such a small blockchain right now, only 134,000 blocks instead of millions of blocks. So it loads up a lot faster. And so we can do a couple of examples of multi-sig interactions right here. Does anybody who's on this call have a pre-production node up and running, and in particular an address? Because it would be really fun to pass around a transaction. Sebastian, you want to try this?
I have the node, but I have not created an address.
If you can do that quickly, or if anybody else here has a set of keys that work on pre-production, what we can do is we can try to create a multi-sig address and then try to unlock a transaction from it. I can also I can play the role of both parties here, but if anybody wants to do that, just chime in. And then
do I need to run the node to create the keys?
awesome question. Great. Okay, so actually you don't need a node running at all. So to create the keys, you can follow the steps from, I forget if that was module 101 or 102 where we did that. But yeah, you can quickly create a set of keys. You can create an address, even though we won't even need the address. All we really need is the pub key hash of the V key. And then you need to save the signing key. Yeah, exactly. So Cardano CLI address key gen. Yep. Exactly. And then, so after you have those keys, you can run Cardano CLI address key hash, and you can hash the payment.v key. And then we can use that hash to create an address. And that's what I'm going to do over here. So the first one, so here's just the format of it, okay? This right here is the content, well, here's the closing bracket down here. Here's the contents of a very simple file called tgimbal.script. This is what I used just to mint some testnet gimbals that'll be used in the faucet. And this is slightly more complicated than the script I used for the PPBL Summer 2022 token, which only had this single item in it, right? So this says, okay, in order, this script, this native script says that there's one signature required to use this script. This one has an array of two separate script objects or SIG objects, right? One key hash and another key hash. And it says that all of these must be present. There's other options. You don't have to have all, okay? And you could use type to have some subset. But for now, we'll just focus on requiring all or both of these two key hashes. But either way, right? Either way, I can run Cardano CLI transaction policy ID, which just takes one parameter, a script file. And so I can run the multi-sig script file and I can get a policy ID like this. Or I could run this single signature PPBL Summer 2022. And I also get a policy ID. And once I have the policy ID, right, you can't tell the difference between these. There's nothing just by looking at this policy ID versus that one, which would say, oh, that one's multi-sig versus that one's not, right? So far, so good? Hey,
Yep.
Krish. But what's wild about these script files is that, like I said, creating a policy ID is not the only thing that they can do. Make this a little bigger, clear this out. Okay, the other thing I can do is I can build an address. And if you've worked through the onboarding modules from this course, you've seen how to build an address from your verification keys directly. You can build kind of the longer address with staking credentials by including a staking V key as well. But we can also build addresses with payment script files. And that's what you do with Plutus. After you compile a Plutus contract, you can run Cardano CLI, address build, payment script file, and then for the file, you can include your Plutus script, and that gives you a contract address. So that's nice, right? And once you have a contract address, the way to unlock funds there is to validate, right? To meet all the requirements of your validator and unlock from a contract address. And I think we'll have time to look at that today. I want to show you an updated version of the faucet script in just a moment. But still another option, okay? And this, I think it's fair to say there are three kinds of addresses. There's your individual address that all of us are already kind of familiar with. There's the contract address that I just described, where you can have a Plutus script as a payment script file. But then the third kind of address would be a multi-sig address. Watch. I can say payment script file, and then I can use, for example, this tgimbal.script. Whoops. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, I have to specify the network, right? Testnet magic 1. Okay. And so that, and I'm sorry that my terminal doesn't add a return there. Here's what I'll do. Let me also do an out file. And this will be tgimbal multi-sig dot address. Okay, so all I did is I ran the same command, but this time I have an out file. And now I should be able to look at that address. It still does. Sorry about that. Okay, but anyway, so I have this address right here. And this would then be a multi-sig address. So here's what's interesting. Sebastian or anybody else, if you have a pub key hash for a V key that's already on your computer, you could send it to me. You could just put it in the chat here. There's no risk in sharing that. That's the public representation of the private key that you hold on your computer. I could copy and paste that pub key hash from the Zoom chat or from anywhere else. I could put it into a native script file. I could then create an address from there, and then we would share a multi-sig address. And what's incredible about this is that we don't all have to sign it at the same time. We can pass around right over the internet on public channels, whether it's, I don't know if I can share a file in a Zoom chat like this, but in Discord or over email or over Signal, Telegram, WhatsApp, whatever, we could pass around a partly signed transaction file and add all of the necessary signatures to it as we go. And after we have all the necessary signatures, we could finally sign that transaction and then submit it to the blockchain. Nice. All right, Nelson's ready. Let's do it. So I'm in this folder here. I'm going to go into my draft transactions folder. All right. And so let me just going to follow along with my template here off screen, just to make sure I'm doing it right. So open bracket, type is going to be all. The scripts are an array of objects and I'm going to first have Nelson's key hash here. And then I'll use one of mine as well. close both objects, close that array, close the main object. This should be good. So now I should be able to generate a new address that we can use for multi-sig. Cool. And of course, if I query this address right now, there's nothing there yet. Okay. So I'm going to make this the receive address. And we can send some funds here. So I'll take a moment to do that unless somebody wants to beat me to it. I happen to have as well a funded pre-production wallet. And I tend to use the word sender when I'm building transactions. That's just a habit I got into. You can use whatever you want. But I like using sender and sender key. As always, just a reminder, don't publicize your payment keys like I'm doing right here. And I'm going to show you the path to that, which you would never want to do if this was real value. But since we're playing on testnet, I'm doing this for educational purposes. And if I query the UTXOs on pre-production in this sender wallet, you can see I have a bunch of different UTXOs here. These are test gimbal tokens that I'm playing with in a faucet implementation. And these are the new PPBL summer 2022 tokens on testnet, on pre-production testnet, sorry. And I'll send these out probably tomorrow to all those addresses that we have. All right. What I want to do is just send some of this value. So I have this big UTXO right here. I'm just going to use this. Set index 0. And now I'm going to just build a quick transaction. This is Alonzo era because we're running on pre-production. Oh, I forgot the tags here. I'm not going to write this by hand. Let me do this off screen too. I'm going to send 7.5 ADA to this address. I think I called that receive a minute ago. Yeah. All right, so the transaction should look like this. I have the TX in here. And so here's our build. Alonzo era, testnet magic 1, which is pre-production. The TX in that I just grabbed here Oops, I forgot a $ in front of receive, so I'll have to do this again. But everything else looks good. Let's try that again. Okay. All right, it's just a regular transaction, minimal fee right here. And I can sign it. And I can submit it. This network is running quickly. It's already been accepted from the mempool. And so I should be able to now query that new multi-sig address. There we go. All right, so now we have this new UTXO locked up at this multi-sig address. And the question that we want to look at together is, all right, well, how do I spend this thing? And so just to show you the difference, let's just see what error we get if I try to spend this UTXO the same way as with that simple transaction I wrote a moment ago. So I'm going to now change my TX in to be this hash right here. I'm going to try to send some value back to the sender address that I have. And we'll leave the change here. And let me just try to send 3 ADA. I should be able to send 3 out of 7.5. The change will go back here. The fee will be covered and we'll be meeting all of our min UTXOs. So here we go. Here's what the new transaction might look like. Instead of sending to the receive address, like I said, I'm going to send back to that sender address, which represents my personal address that I have the key for. And the change is going back to this multi-sig address right here. So what do we see? All right. Man, oh, I just forgot a 0. That's not a good error. Let's do that again. I'm not allowed to send 0.3 ADA. That's what this error says. Min UTXO threshold not met. Let me add one more 0 there and see if we get a more interesting error. How's this? All right. So why is there not an error here? Why is it okay to build this transaction?
Nothing wrong with the transaction, the build. It's the submit that will error out.
So you think I'll be able to sign it?
Oh, actually, no,
It looks like I just did. Signing worked. I think you're right, Curtis. Submit. And so what's the key error to notice here? You see it? Missing script witnesses UTXO. So we're still able to build. We say, hey, I want to spend that UTXO, TX in. I want to send some value here, and we can always send the change really wherever we want, not necessarily back to ourselves. We can even sign that transaction. There's nothing stopping somebody from signing a transaction. And in fact, you can sign a transaction even if your signature is irrelevant. But finally, at this submit step, this is where we see, oh, there's a problem here.
So would that sign step be the one that gets repeated? So that would be the script that gets signed and everyone would do this step and eventually you get to the, okay.
So let's look at the documentation for Cardano CLI transaction sign. All right. We can input whatever TX body file we want. This is the one that I would send to Nelson so he can sign it. And then he would output a new one. Oh, no, that's another input, right? TX, we're using TX body file, right? So we're using this one, not TX file. But you can write a TX file in a different format here. Okay. And then, yeah, just one or more signing keys have to sign this thing. Each adds their signature, and finally, we're going to get the output we want. Now, there's one more thing to see here. Go back to the build step with all of its many parameters. There's a couple of references to witnesses, okay? And so this has changed. And I haven't done this on the latest version of Cardano CLI. So I gotta review this right now to make sure we're doing it right. Okay, we don't want to override that. What else do we see? We're going to come back to this in just a second. No. So we don't. Let's just, yeah, I'm actually curious. Let's just try this just by having me send this partially signed transaction over to Nelson. Let's just see if this works. I'm actually not certain it will. Let's try it. So I'm going to say, once again, I'm going to make the draft just to make sure we got that. Yep, that looks good. Then I'm going to change the name of my out file. When I sign this, I'm going to make the output of this JD partly signed. Okay. And so now I've got a file here, JD partly signed. And that's what I'm going to send over to Nelson. I'm going to send this to you on Discord.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In the signing key part and the signing part, transaction sign, why the file, the only file is signing key file? We shouldn't take the two. My question simply is why only one file, not the in this case the key, the Nelson's key and your key. I'm a little confused with that.
So we need both, but who holds Nelson's signing key?
Nelson.
He does. I don't. So I don't have his signing key to add to a transaction.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's why I'm going to take this file right here, the one that's partly signed by me, and I'm going to send this partly signed transaction over to Nelson and ask him to sign it.
Okay.
And then we should have a fully signed transaction.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I understand.
Let's see if that works. I'm not sure if this is going to work. I'm actually really curious about this. I think I'm skipping something, but I want to see if we can do it with the minimum here. Hold on. So Amir, that's right. The same file is well, it won't be the same file, right? So let's think about what files I have here. I've got this initial transaction build step, the output of which is a drafted transaction, right? We haven't talked about signatures at all right here. All we're doing is we're building a transaction that says, hey, take one input, create this output, and create another output, sending the change back to this address. Then, with that draft transaction successfully created, we make that the input to this next signing function. And we say, okay, sign this file here with this signing key. And that's the one I've got here. And create a new output file. And so now this is a unique file, right? This file represents this transaction, but only signed by me so far. Nelson's going to take that file as input, sign it to create a new output file that we should be able to submit. So I know I'm being really picky with language there, but it's not quite right to call it the same file, right? Each of these files is an input to some process that then outputs a new file. And that's the key to Haskell, right? That's how Haskell works. Every Haskell function doesn't actually change any data. It takes some inputs and then it creates some new output data. Curtis.
Yeah, so I was just noticing that question in the chat about the file that you addressed, but that sparked, should we also touch on the order of the signatures and if that's relevant or not?
I'm pretty sure it's not, but I might be wrong. I guess we're about to find that out too.
Is it currently witnessed in the incorrect order?
Can you say that again? I'm not sure I get it.
Sorry, is it being witnessed in an incorrect order right now? The opposite of the way it's written in the script.
Oh, so you might know more about this than me. I was not aware that the order mattered in that case.
No, I don't think it does. Not in this particular situation. That I guess I was just kind of pointing that out, that I don't think the order matters. Not in this case, but I do believe there are situations or scenarios where it does actually matter. Not the way it was used now.
But let's find out, right? Like this might fail, and we might find out that the reason it's failing is because of the order. So yeah, let's find out. And yeah, if you have examples of when it does matter, I think that's really helpful.
I see. I don't know the specific cause, but when I was reading ADAO's roundtable code, they made a comment to that it has to be signed in a specific order. So I don't know if that's a Plutus script or a native script. Probably a Plutus script.
Would that have to do with the way that the transaction is hashed? The way that the crypto, the way that it's,
Well, okay, so I'm going to keep doing an experiment over here to see if we can get a different address if we change the order. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. In the meantime, Nelson, I just sent this file to you in Discord. The way Discord presents it is it shows the actual contents of the file, but you should be able to download. Oh, and look, it's saved as .text. So if you download that file, just get rid of the .text extension on it and see if you can sign it. And if you want to share your screen, I think that'd be fun to watch. Here, can you try again?
So, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm getting this error. So I've downloaded the file here.
Yeah.
And if I did it correctly, well,
good.
this can be just this.
Yes, good. Okay. Now this is good. Good. Now that's expected. And I believe this is a consequence of not using the witness override. Okay, so let's try this again. Now that we're getting this set, this is really helpful. It's been a while since I've done this, so it's good to be kind of relearning it right here with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build this transaction again.
Maybe you can share your screen.
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing for a while.
Yep. I'm going to build this transaction again. But this time, I'm just going to add this one thing, the witness override first. I'm going to see if it allows me just to do this with the number 2. This is a bit different. Yeah, so that's fine. Okay, so I added witness override 2, which should represent that we expect 2 signatures eventually. Then I want to see if I do everything else the same, if I get a better result here. So same thing, just save that file again. And now, once again, I'm going to send that to Nelson. Yeah, it's slightly different. Good. The sequence witness assemble. Janti, witness assemble, is that at the sign step or the build step?
Basically, when you sign, the first signer will witness it, and the last, I think, will assemble. And then that's when it's going to be submitted.
Ah, yeah. That's what I did. Okay, sorry. Right, I shouldn't be using sign. I should be using witness.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's look at the docs for that. I knew I would. So this says body file signing key. And I have to specify testnet. Is this bit? What's this part right here?
I can quickly send a copy of the transaction I passed, and then we can see if all the elements are there. Let me put it in the chat.
Cool. Good. Okay. Yeah. Witness. So you create.
That is for the first signer. Mm-hmm. So if you have like n of m, m minus 1 will all witness, and then number m will assemble it.
Okay.
So that
number
address
n
should
of
be
n will assemble it. Great. Okay. Good, good, good. Let's try that. Okay, so instead of signing this thing, I'm going to witness it. And then what I've witnessed, I'll send to Nelson so that he can assemble it. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so I'm going to build this thing off screen, then paste it on here in just a second. I want to use Cardano CLI transaction witness. And I'm going to have a TX body file, which is going to be my draft from before. That's fine. I'm going to have a signing key file. That's just my key. And so you didn't have an address on the witness part. So let me see if I can get away without using that. But I do want to use testnet magic 1 and finally an out file. That is,
Yeah, actually the address, let me see if actually the policy, check it. That's why I realized the order didn't matter. There has to be something preceding this for the policy. Let me check it.
so should I be able to do this without witness override, or should I probably need to include that? Let's see what this does. Okay, so this is what I just typed off screen just to organize it, but I'm going to try to witness the draft transaction I just made, sign it with my key, and create a new out file. Cardano. Oh yeah, there's no dash in front of Cardano CLI. Of course, try that. All right, so that created an output file. Let's see if that's signable or assemblable by Nelson. Let's see. Well, so he would still sign. So he's going to sign. He's still going to have to will he witness the thing or sign the thing? Let's try it.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
So I'm going to send this new out file I just created over to Nelson, and he's going to have to first witness it, right? And then after he witnesses, he should be able to assemble it.
Let's see.
Witness file. I don't understand what the output is.
Yeah, but the original transaction will have a reference to that script, right? Or that address.
The original transaction.
Yeah, so basically the two of you, each one of you will have had the time to witness. So you can basically witness separately. You can witness, you witness and I witness, and then whoever assembles has to have both files.
At the assemble step, we would use two.
You have to have both.
Files.
Yes, yes.
All right, so
you won't need to sign.
No signing at the end. You just assemble, then we should be able to submit that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this draft transaction here. And I'm gonna send this draft to Nelson so that he can run this witness command on it with his key. He'll send me back that witness, and I'll try to assemble the whole thing.
Yes,
All right,
yes, yes. Assuming that he checked your transaction hash output to confirm that actually you are submitting the correct transaction, right? Because then people can sign transactions they didn't check.
That's right. That's right. Well, here, so I'm just gonna do this again just to change the name of it. This is a draft for Nelson and me. Then I'm gonna take that file right here. And that's gonna go this way. All right. Nelson, I'm going to send you this boilerplate here from my screen as well. What do we call that? We call All right. So Nelson, I just sent you what was on my screen right here. I changed the TX body file to match what was just outputted here, but I think you'll have to remove the dot text from that.
Yeah, got it. I'm just I'm doing it.
Cool. Thanks for your patience with this, everybody. It's been on my list to mess with this for a while. And I appreciate the chance to do it live and to kind of figure it out.
Yes, I just sent you back.
Hey, okay, so that worked. All right, and I'm gonna just grab what Shanti sent in the chat and use that as a template. Grab over here. So I have this witnessed by Nelson right here. And then I have the witness that I created here. So those are the two witness files I'm going to need. That's amazing, Jonty. Thanks for joining us. All right, so I'm double checking this because I'm just surprised to see that it doesn't require me to specify a network. But okay, all I need is what Chanti already sent me, which should look like this. So I'm saying Cardano CLI transaction assemble. The body file is what was originally output at the build step. And then we add these two witnesses that each of us built separately. And we're going to output a multi-sig signed transaction. Yeah, well, that worked. So now I should be able to just submit that thing, huh? Let's see if it works. Transaction submit TX file multi-sig. Test note magic 1. Here we go. Nah, what I miss? Okay. Let's see. Missing witnesses. Oh, and it says fee too small. Well, that's different. Did I sign with the wrong key? No. That's the body. Well, I'm not sure what I'm missing right now. I need to study this for a few extra minutes and try to figure out what's going on here. So all right. I'm thinking on the fly right now, but I'm thinking that the best use of everybody's time is not to watch me troubleshoot this. I'm gonna go and play with this. The reason I haven't had time to play with this is because I got distracted by playing with the faucet validator. Yeah, Justin, that's likely, right? These are, so I hope so far today we've outlined a couple of things that are worth trying. And these are all examples. Did you include TX in script file?
The file which specifies whether you need all of them, all the weaknesses, or you just need a certain number.
That's the assemble.
Yes.
Assemble.
No, it's actually, you see the weather row, the transaction which I built before in the text?
Yeah.
In order to create that one, I had to attach to it the TX in script file.
Really?
Yes, because that's the one which will dictate whether you need how many signatories. Do you need all of them, of a list, or do you need n of m of another list within the transaction itself?
So that goes underneath the multi-sig UTXO, kind of like a Plutus script goes underneath the contract UTXO.
Yes, it's like a common transaction for an individual, but then you add that JSON file which specified the pub key hash.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's why I was asking the transaction, because that's where the magic happens.
I came to this lecture unprepared to really go over multi-sig, and I apologize for that, everybody. I like to test a couple things usually before jumping in. But you know, when the topic came up, I was excited to give it a try. So I hope this wasn't a total waste of time. And what I'm going to do next is troubleshoot this and be ready tomorrow, but I'm not going to try to troubleshoot it live. I don't think that's a good use of everybody's time.
So, James, this is the same error that one of the students got that you resolved in Discord, and I don't recall the solution, unfortunately. But it is the same error that he was getting.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. So let's try to figure that out. And he was one of the things that was not that was that Justin? Who was working on that? Yeah, John. Oh wait, John. Yeah. I wanted to connect with you because I think we were. This is where we need to distinguish between minting assets and spending from multi-sig addresses. Those are two independent concerns. And we need to cover each of those independently to really see the difference here. So let me do this. I'm happy to hang on. I could stay on this call for as long as we got. Yeah, and you got the multi-sig mint to work. That makes sense. I'm happy to stay here. I'm happy to work with the door open, but I'm really sensitive. I don't want to waste people's time. So just know that I'm going to stay on here and try to figure this out. And I'm going to be ready to give a concise resolution to it at the start of tomorrow's live coding session. And then if we get through that and we feel good about that, then I would love to get to a little bit of notes on Plutus. I had a little Plutus exploration ready to go today, but we'll save that one for tomorrow. Yeah, okay, so once again, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna stop recording for now and be ready to share a concise resolution to this tomorrow. But if you wanna hang out and watch some live troubleshooting that, we can do that right now. Thanks for being here, everybody. And if you got to go,